Hey Facebook, what's up? It's Stacy here with another episode of Real Talk, and today I want to talk about dancing with anxiety. You might not know this about me, but I experience quite a bit of anxiety. Those monkey mind thoughts that keep me awake at night. Oh, and I've been thinking. A lot of people are experiencing anxiety these days, and it's time to learn how to dance with it. So I wanted to share some insights that I've had recently, and I'm just curious if you experience anxiety. And the way that I think of anxiety, it's kind of like fixating on our worst nightmares coming true, and that we won't have the skills, courage, or strength to cope with the pain of loss. Yeah? Something like that. And we make up all kinds of imagined nightmares to accompany that train of thought. And I started watching myself stacking misery against myself, like laying awake at night and imagining bad things happening. An earthquake is coming. Where would I go? Oh no, what if the light fixture falls on top of my daughter while she's sleeping? The ceiling will fall on my baby. I'm gonna be the one who gets bit by the West Nile mosquito. Oh, I have this lingering pain in my low back. What if it's cancer? How would I know? How do people know they have cancer anyway? Got this tax bill. What if I can't support my family anymore? What if they're hungry? We're gonna become bag ladies. What if I put myself out there on this Facebook Live talking about anxiety and people laugh at me? What if I tell the truth and it kills someone I love? What if I lose my mind like Aunt Betty? What is your imagined nightmare that hasn't actually happened that crushes you? And how do you regain trust of your okayness in the face of anxiety? That's what this Real Talk is about. And as always, when I bring topics to Real Talk, these are all things that I'm dealing with myself as well. This conversation is one that I need as much as I can share the insights and wisdom I've gained, but this is an experience that we're all in together. So let's get agreement about that so we can just have a courageous conversation about this topic. That's what Real Talk's all about. So as we go along, I ask that you put your insights, your questions, things that are resonating with you in the chat, and that's what we're gonna dive in. So as I've been looking at this, again, trying to think, like, what is this experience of anxiety? And at its core, it's a loss of trust in yourself and the universe, right? It's pulling in external evidence that we're totally screwed instead of the internal recognition that, wow, we're just meant to be exactly where we are, even if we don't like it. Now, intellectually, I understand that the anxious thoughts are not going to kill me. It's actually believing the anxious thoughts that consumes us. Those imaginary nightmare scenarios where some devastation or pain is going to get me or someone I love. That's one of my fears, like this imaginary nightmare that I have. It's not going to get me. It's going to get someone I love, and I'm not going to have the courage to cope. And it's not real, right? This is a narrative, but it certainly feels real in the nervous system when it's happening. So I got curious, how do I make that feel so real? This is actually a coaching technique that we teach in our year-long mastery coach training, which is a graduate level training for those who have some foundational coach training. So if you did become a health coach training and you want to go deeper, or if you did another coach training somewhere else, but you're thinking, I aspire to become a masterful coach, like I'm a good coach, but I want to become a masterful coach. That's really what our mastery training is. It's a graduate training for coaches who want to go deeper. And this is a simple yet advanced concept, what I'm about to share with you. Now, what we teach in Mastery is we're more interested in how we keep creating our unwanted experiences. Like, how do we keep repeating the same unwanted patterns for ourselves, getting into the same relationship again, the same toxic relationship, or doing self-defeating behaviors. We keep binge eating even though we're telling ourselves we don't want to be binge eating. And so what we're interested in is, how do we keep creating those unwanted experiences for ourselves? And as the coach, we can do this really kind of neat thing. So we can ask the client to teach us how they get anxious. So I would say, hey, let's pretend you were on the payroll to feel anxious. Let's say I'm the coach and you're the client. Let's pretend that you were on the payroll to feel anxious and you were really good at your job. But one day you couldn't come to work, so you called me in to substitute for you. Somebody had to play the role of anxiety at work, and you got called away and you needed to find a sub. So here I am, and I said, sure, I'll do that job for you for a day. And given that you had such an excellent work ethic, you wanted to make sure that I would do an excellent job being anxious in your place. You didn't want to lower the standard of how well you do that. How would you teach me to be anxious in the way that you do it? And you might say something like, well, step one is imagine something terrible happening. Okay, let me imagine something terrible happening. Okay, great. Okay, I got it. Some terrible thing is happening. Step two, bring all your energy into your head. Okay, I got that. Step three, breathe shallow and fast. And irregularly, right? Like that. Okay, got that. Yeah, starting to get a feel for this role. Step four, anticipate with certainty your own pain and suffering, or the pain and suffering of someone you love and feel responsible for. Okay, I got that. And step five, stack even more misery against yourself. Nietzsche says, madness is the result not of uncertainty, but of certainty. That made me think that anxiety is the experience of certainty in the direction of a nightmare. Does anyone else experience this kind of spiral and stacking against yourself? And what do you notice happens to your breath? Does it get shallow? Does it get quick? What happens to your breath? Good. I'm seeing anxiety. Dom says anxiety sucks. Yep. And Jennifer says such an important topic. And then Emily says step five is what I like to call having anxiety about having anxiety. Yeah, so intellectually, I notice I try to tell myself that these thoughts are not real and that it's safe to relax. This is not real, it's just a story. But inside, I'm being thrashed in the undertow of worry and fear and self-doubt and ugly self-criticisms bordering on self-abuse as I stack all the things that are wrong with me. That I'm flawed, that I have failed in some way, that I'm not good enough, and I'm a fraud, and I'm broken, and this nightmare will never end. And I try to find my center, slow my breath, do some kind of mindfulness practice, but it was all like battling a dragon with a flimsy noodle for a sword. Doesn't work very well. And then recently I had this dream which occurred at the moment as a nightmare. And I was sitting by a lake and on a rock right by the water. And all of a sudden, I look out into the water, and this bear emerges from the water, a grizzly bear. And it starts coming towards me. And I feel like it's trying to chase me, trying to attack me. And when I woke up, the feeling, the kinesthetic feeling in my body was so palpable. It felt so real, and I couldn't shake the dream for days. And so I called up one of my coaches. Yes, I am a coach and I have a coach. I think we should all have a coaches. I imagine a world where it will seem absurd that we don't all have an advocate for our own well-being, including our mind and our hearts and our body. But that's another note. Call up my coach, and one of my coaches says, okay, so you're having the experience of anxiety. What if anxiety was not the enemy? What if anxiety was a messenger sent by some part of you that was longing to be met? Because I told her about the dream and this bear. And when I looked at it through that lens, I realized that the bear wasn't coming to attack me. The bear was actually like a mama bear. The mama bear that was coming to say, hey, honey, there's some part of you that is longing to be met. Something is knocking at the door of your heart. What is it? What are you postponing? While it may appear that it's knocking from the outside, get curious and look again. Maybe, just maybe, the waves of sensation and emotion and narratives are special invitations. And perhaps the kindest act of self-care and self-love is to finally slow down, stop trying to run away, and see. Now I realized that I needed to create some distance with the anxiety because I was too overwhelmed to slow down enough to see. So I needed to create a little distance. Otherwise, right, just too lost in the swirl. And this takes patience. In our coach training, we call this dissociation. It's a way of stepping back, getting distance from our greatest fears or anxieties, and it helps the client get perspective when they're stuck in the swirl. Now, of course, it also helps us. That's the beauty of this, and you get to learn how to start coaching yourself in these kind of situations. Now, I had this technique in my little bag of tricks, so I was able to dissociate, but it took patience. This is not instant. It takes patience. What I did in order to dissociate, to be able to create some distance with this anxiety, was something that I was kind of terrified to do at first, because the illusion of being in the anxiety is that if I stop feeling this, then the big bad beast is going to come and get me, like the boogeyman's going to be able to get me. But if I'm bracing and I'm on the lookout, I can have hope to get it first. Is like this weird dance with the nothing, right? It's the nothing that we're sparring with. So what I did though was I welcomed my anxiety as a guest. And instead of trying to fight it, I said, okay, come in, sit down. Stay as long as you need. And then here's the important piece, and you can use this with clients, with yourself and with clients as well. I gave her a name. Could be a him for you. Mine was a her. I gave her a name. I called her Miss Heady-Itch. And I asked Miss Heady-Itch why she was disturbing me so much, filling my head with horrible thoughts, especially at night when I'm trying to sleep. And she said, I'm trying to get your attention, silly. And there's too many competing priorities in the day, and you just keep running away from me and ignoring me, so I have to get louder and scarier until you can't refuse to pay attention. And so I turn and I say to Miss Hetty Itch, what do you want from me? And Miss Hetty Itch says, oh, darling, it's not what I want from you, it's what I want for you. Something in your life is not working for you. And it's time for you to evolve some aspect of how you are doing your life. So if you experience anxiety, just take a moment to notice what might not be working for you in your life. And you might say, well, I don't know what's not working for me. You do know. So it's slowing down enough. Stop turning your back and just be with it. Something in your life is likely not working for you, and it's time to evolve some aspect of how you are doing your life. And I protested to Miss Hetty Itch. I said, no, it will kill me or someone I love, and it will be my fault. I don't have the courage. I don't have the strength. Why are you expecting this of me? I can't do this. And Miss Hetty Itch said, you do. You will discover you are more courageous than you give yourself credit for. Oh, and let me be clear. This change that's calling to happen is not only for you, it's for everyone around you. They signed up for this too. You think that it will hurt them, and it might at first. They might be protest, be disappointed. They might not like it. They might be angry, but in the long run, what is best for us is best for those we love too. And the reason I can say this is because we are heart-centered beings. You know if you have a good, well-meaning heart. Usually, I don't get people listening to my Facebook Live that are mean sociopathic bullies or murderers, right? Not murderers. So trusting that in the long run, what is best for us is best for those we love too. Now, I hoped that the anxiety would just instantly evaporate in that moment. Oh, but it didn't. Not completely. But instead of anxiety being this monster that could pounce at any moment, it became a teacher, a messenger carrying key insights that I've now adopted as a personal practice and have begun using with others who are dancing with anxiety. So I want to share that process with you, that it might help you feel safer in your skin, or give you something on the menu that feels better instead of being completely swallowed up by your negative thought patterns. So the first part is to think of something right now that makes you feel anxious. So if you're willing to dance with me in the anxiety right now, let's do this together. Think of something right now that makes you feel anxious. It's some worry that you have. Okay, you got it? Now become aware of the thoughts you think and the sensations that go with that. Earlier I was saying, remember, teach me. If you were going to teach me how to get anxious in the way that you get anxious, there's probably a mental movie that you're playing in your head. And then there's some emotion that goes along with that, some feeling, grief, sadness, anger, fear, terror, helplessness, hopelessness, something that goes along with that. And then some kind of sensation in the body. So for me, it usually occurs as a burning swirl in the solar plexus and shortness of breath. It's almost like I'm not even breathing, right? So that combination for me, if I was going to teach you how to be on the job for me, that's the sequence that I would probably put together. Okay, so that's step one. Step two is to witness and welcome the anxiety as a friend. Realize that you are not your anxiety, you are simply the one experiencing the anxiety. And the feelings are fuel for change. You become the witness by giving your anxiety a name, like a cartoon, like Miss Hetty Itch, or Donna, or Mary, or Bob, or Gordon, or Picklehead, or Mickey Mouse. So I'm curious right now, go ahead and post in the chat, what is the name that you'd like to bestow that cartoony character, that part of you that is on the payroll for experiencing anxiety? Let's see if we have some creative names there. Okay. Okay, well, my comments are coming super slow. I mean, like, I think it's my internet connection, so I'll keep going. Okay, so give your anxiety a name and welcome it by saying, ah, hello, Miss Hetty Itch, beautiful catalyst of change. Welcome. I'm sorry that I was judging you as the enemy. I forgot that you're simply bringing to my attention an opportunity to change my relationship with life. Thank you for being in my life. Thank you for not allowing me to turn away from this invitation to grow. Okay? The next step is to steady and slow your breath by patiently, and I say patiently because that's what I notice, is that I'm short of breath because I don't even have the patience in the moment to breathe a full breath all the way through. Steady and slow your breath by patiently inhaling and exhaling all the way. The school that my daughter goes to, they teach them to smell the flowers, blow out the candles. Notice where your breath wants to stop and bring your attention right to it and breathe in and out in a relaxed, patient manner. Remind yourself that these feelings won't last forever. Smell the candles, smell the flowers. Blow out the candles. It's a breath pattern of patience and kindness. If you were breathing like a patient, kind person, how would you breathe? Let's practice that now. Again, smell the flowers. Blow out the candles. Now, what I've been practicing for this past week, ever since I had that bear dream, that little mama bear dream, is taking breathing breaks throughout the day, 30 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. No matter how busy things seem to be, your level of anxiety acts to remind you how often your heart requires slower breaths for the benefit of your total well-being. And when we are not taking these breath breaks for ourselves, what happens? Anxiety, fear, and doubt. So if doubt comes up throughout the day, breathe it out. When in doubt, breathe it out. And this will help steer your thoughts in a good direction. I don't know who said it, but great quote is that worry is a misuse of the imagination. Another one is that worry is like praying for what you don't want. Or worry is like sitting in a rocking chair. It gives you something to do, but gets you nowhere. On the other hand, deep breaths are inspirations. So slower breaths throughout the day will give you fresh, positive, inspiring ideas. Step 4 here is to extend gratitude, curiosity, and willingness. So we can say to Miss Hetty Itch, thank you for this encounter. Thank you for requiring me to get more honest. And then dare to ask the question, what is the healthiest choice that I have been putting off? This is a very powerful question. You can use this on yourself and you can use this in your coaching. What is the healthiest choice that I have been putting off or postponing? It's the postponements that give us anxiety. So that's one of the ways that anxiety is a messenger. It's here to tell us that we're postponing something that is for our well-being. If you steady the breath and come with a willingness, anxiety will tell you. And truthfully, you already know what you have been putting off, don't you? Yeah, you do. Notice that anxiety dissipates when it is given space and a voice. And step 5 is to get in action. Make a small change that honors your needs. Whatever you've been postponing, take action. Now, here's a little extra credit to stay steady. And this is a big one for me. It's a discipline or a blisscipline. It's a practice. Make a list each day of at least 3 things that you're doing right. So go ahead and put in the chat right now, what are 3 things that you've done right today? Instead of focusing on what's wrong with the world or unjust in your life and imagining things that haven't actually happened or getting mad about things that people have or haven't done, take the time to celebrate how peacefully, honorably, and lovingly you choose to respond to what life is handing you right now. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to try. So what have you done right today? And go ahead and put that in the chat. 3 things that you have done right today. And if you're feeling anxiety or can't come up with anything, do the practice. Smell the flowers. Blow out the candles. And give yourself permission to acknowledge yourself, no matter how small, for what you are doing right. I'm seeing Beth and Jessica and Dawn and Meg and Angela. Great. When we relate to anxiety as an enemy, it will consume us, paralyze us in fear. On the other hand, when we decide to get into an intimate relationship with anxiety, it becomes a powerful catalyst, steering us towards our greatness, steering us towards our aliveness. And when we learn to do this for ourselves, we can assist others. This is just a sliver of the journey of masterful coaching. Pretty exciting, right? You see how whether you got into coaching because you actually just wanted your own personal growth to learn how to become a better human being, or you wanted to do this as a career. Either way, it is, gosh, I just can't even imagine my life without it. It's given me the tools to be a better human, a better friend, a better woman, a better mother, a better partner. And this is just a sliver of the journey of masterful coaching. So when we endeavor into masterful coaching, we no longer fear our thoughts, we no longer fear our pain or other people's pain. And that is so incredibly powerful. If you'd like to learn more about those kinds of skills, then I want to invite you to a special 3-day event coming up this November. It's called HCI Live. It's our Health Coach Institute live event. It's 3 days in person. This one coming up is in November in Austin, Texas, and we'll go ahead and post the link in the chat. But we're going to be practicing masterful coaching sequences there that help you make friends with despair, with fear, with anxiety, with grief. So we don't have to fear these things. They are not our foe, they are our friends, and they are here as very important messengers. And there are coaching sequences that you can use that bring more love, compassion, understanding to these different parts of ourselves. So we're not trying to negate them or amputate them or muzzle them, because what happens when you do that? They just get louder, more consuming, more terrifying, terrorizing. So we can work with these sensations, we can work with these messengers in a really powerful way. So leave a comment if that sounds like something that would be worthwhile to learn and practice for yourself or for others in your coaching practice or just in your life. Then go ahead and put a comment in the chat like masterful coaching, yes, or mastery, yes. Just go ahead and put that in the chat. And if you are coming to HCI Live this November, then I hope that we get to connect. Come, please, and connect. Let me look you in the eyes. Let us squeeze each other's hands and just say we are in this human dance together. So I hope you enjoy this. If you like it, give it a like and tag someone that you know who may be experiencing anxiety in their lives. Let us open the doors to one another to dance with our fears, to come into more honest relationship with ourselves and with life itself. So go to hcilive.com to join us for that 3-day live event, and I can't wait to see you there. Post something in the chat that you're taking away from this episode of Real Talk, and I'll see you every week, Thursday at noon Pacific, right here on the Health Coach Institute Facebook page. Bye, everyone.